This happened to me very recently, and it still haunts me. Every time I recall that evening, a chill runs down my spine, and questions pop into my mind that seem to have no answers. I'll tell it all in order. I was walking home from work as usual, around 9 in the evening. The bus dropped me off at my usual stop in our quiet residential area. The houses lined the street, and a paved sidewalk ran between them, brightly lit by street lamps. It was the safest path home, and I always chose it, especially after dark. From the stop to my building was only 1 block, but my father, knowing I returned late, would meet me. We had an agreement. He would step outside with our small Pomeranian, Bublik, who would bark joyfully the moment he spotted me. That evening, everything seemed normal. I strolled slowly, glancing around for the familiar figure of my father with Bublik. The street lamps cast a warm yellow glow, and the area was quiet. No cars, no pedestrians, only the soft rustle of leaves in the breeze. Passing a small clinic where my father worked, I remembered a recent tragedy that had shaken the neighborhood. Just a couple of weeks ago, a man in his 40s, the husband of one of the clinic's nurses, had fallen from the balcony of the 10th floor. Rumor had it that he had stepped out for a smoke, as usual, but slipped on the icy balcony. He landed on the clinic roof, and the impact was so severe that his eyes reportedly popped from their sockets. People said he thrashed for several minutes before dying. The story had shaken the entire neighborhood, and as I walked past, my thoughts grew dark. What could drive someone to such a fate? Was it truly an accident, or was there something else? Lost in thought, I suddenly noticed a man ahead. He was running along the same sidewalk, but in the opposite direction, about 15 to 20 meters away. At first, I didn't think much of it. He could have come from a side street or a yard, but his movements immediately caught my attention. He was limping badly on his left leg. His right leg moved normally, but the left dragged, making his run awkward, almost painful. Then, every so often, he would switch to a normal walking pace, and the limp disappeared entirely, only to return again when he started running. I slowed down to avoid catching up, planning to wait for my father, but the distance never changed. It was strange. He ran slowly, and I barely shuffled along, yet he seemed frozen in place, maintaining the same distance. I watched him for 2 or 3 minutes, trying to figure out what was wrong. The street was deserted, and his figure stood out starkly against the brightly lit sidewalk. He wore a dark jacket and pants, but I couldn't see his face, only his back and that strange, limping gait. And then he vanished, just vanished. One moment I saw him, the next, nothing. The street was straight, with no corners or bushes to hide behind. The archway leading to a nearby yard was far behind, and I would have noticed if he had ducked in. The streetlights illuminated everything, nowhere to hide. No manholes on the sidewalk, nothing he could have fallen into. I froze, a cold wave crawling down my spine. My heart raced, and a sense of being watched grew in my chest. I looked around, no one, no sound, no movement, just silence and light. Fear washed over me in waves. I quickened my pace, almost running, constantly glancing around. My father still hadn't appeared, which only heightened my anxiety. When I finally reached our building, I burst into the apartment. My mother, surprised to see me alone, asked, "Why are you by yourself? Didn't your father go to meet you?" I told her everything about the strange man, his sudden disappearance, and the eerie feeling of being watched. She frowned but said nothing. A few minutes later, my father returned, irritated and cold. He said he had been waiting on the same sidewalk, pacing back and forth, but hadn't seen me. That was impossible. We always met at the same spot, and passing each other on a straight, well-lit street was simply inconceivable. He had left 5 minutes before I arrived, and I should have seen him. We spent the evening discussing the incident, but couldn't find an explanation. Who was that man? Why did he appear from nowhere and vanish just as suddenly? Why did my father and I miss each other on the same sidewalk? I tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was an ordinary passerby, and I simply didn't notice him turn off. But the street was empty, and the light left no shadows to hide in. Perhaps I was tired after work, and my mind played tricks on me. But the sensation of being watched and the icy fear were too real. Thinking back to that night, I can't shake the memory of the tragic fall at the clinic. Could it be connected? Rumors circulated that the man who fell wasn't just unlucky. Some whispered that he was called by something. Others said strange events had happened in that building before. Tenants hearing footsteps in empty apartments or seeing shadows in windows. I don't believe in ghosts, but what if that runner was something else? Perhaps the trapped soul of that man, caught between worlds, or something that had taken his form. This story remains a mystery to me. I still walk that same sidewalk, but now I always glance over my shoulder, fearful of spotting a limping figure ahead. And whenever my father meets me, I subconsciously quicken my pace, eager to reach him and Bublik. Was it imagination, a ghost, or something I'll never understand? I can't say. But that night left an indelible mark on my memory, and I know one thing for sure. I will never walk that street alone again.